So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Can we back here, BSN Network? This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Monday, December 14th. Everyone's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Monday, December 14th. It is a Monday, end of the weekend. So we are now on to Monday. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. A lot of sports to get into. A ton, and some more sports to get into today. It was another packed sports weekend in the books. So it was a good sports weekend. For me, on a team level, was not the greatest. The New York Jets just get obliterated. I mean, just absolutely just get smoked 40-3. And the Miami got smoked. I mean, they didn't even look like they showed up. They got smoked. The Jets got smoked. I was surprised Miami got smoked. I did predict them to win. And the Jets, I predicted them to lose. I was expecting a smoking. I predicted them to lose 42-10. It was 40-3. So I was expecting a smoking. Kentucky made it close towards the end, showed a lot of positive things to take away. At the end of the day, though, they're 1-4, and that's not a good position. The Nets, I mean, just so excited to watch this team play. I mean, I was telling people yesterday, I was watching the Jets game. I was, obviously Jets fan, watch all the games. So I was watching the Jets game, and the Nets game came on after the Jets game. So it was perfect timing. I literally perfect timing. Right when the Jets game ended, Nets game was coming on. Then you had the Nets game. Then right when the Nets game ended, you had Sunday Night Football. So literally, Nets game ended, boom, right there for Sunday Night Football. So it was like perfect timing. Everything matched up just perfectly. So I was obviously watching the Jets. By the third quarter, I didn't even realize. By the third quarter, I was honestly rooting to see how big the score could get. I didn't even care anymore. I mean, it was so bad. And I knew it was going to be bad. Us Jets fans expected it. I guess, the first drive, we go downfield, we score a field goal, or we kick a field goal, we make it. You're like, okay, let's see what this defense can do now with this under the new defensive coordinator. They're going to have extra energy. And now they looked flat. Let up 40 points, so that's obviously just a 30. Letting up 40 points is obviously clear to you that the defense really struggled. So we came out flat on defense, came out banging on offense, and then the rest of the way we just stunk. So obviously I was expecting a beatdown. We got beat down, and then I watched the Nets, and I'll tell you what, I have never been more excited. Not even just preseason basketball, but anything, spring training, preseason, although I was very excited to watch Garrett Cole in the Yankees uniform first game in the spring training, so that I was very excited about that. But still, very, very excited to watch the Nets yesterday. I mean, it made me so happy to see KD, Kyrie out there on the court. Two of them had very good games, and I'll tell you what. And what I saw yesterday, I know it's preseason. I know it's against the Wizards. I know it's just a small sample size. It's one preseason game. I understand that. And I might be getting a little too hyped, which is understandable. This is the first time really me as a Nets fan in my entire time as being a Nets fan. I've been a Nets fan my whole life. In my entire time as being a Nets fan, I've never felt this confident about going to the playoffs. As a matter of fact, I've never felt confident at all going to the playoffs as a Nets fan. Last season, I felt pretty confident, but once Kyrie went down, my confidence really dropped. This season, as long as they both stay healthy, we have a very good shot at the finals. That's all I'm going to say. Yesterday, I know it was a small sample size, but if we play like that yesterday, I'm not saying every game, but even if we just, if we do something like that, 85% of the time, we are going to make the finals, no doubt about it. Very good debut for KD. He looked everything like KD. I mean, he looked like old KD. I mean, he did. He did not look rusty. I mean, of course, you're going to look a little rusty. He did not look perfect. I mean, he missed some shots. He definitely had some fouls and stuff. He did not look perfect. I mean, you're never going to look perfect, though. You're always going to make mistakes. And I was expecting him to actually have a little bit. I wasn't expecting this good of a start for him. I was expecting him to be really rusty out of the gate. I mean, the guy didn't play in 522 days, so I was expecting him to be really rusty, but he looked perfectly. He looked perfectly fine to me. Said he felt good. So that's all positives. But yeah, so we'll get into that. These are the topics for today. We got the NFL games, Jets and the Giants, which very bad day for the Jets and the Giants, both of them. Then we got fantasy football results, all that good stuff. We'll talk about it. Give you fantasy. One league I did really good in, the other league just not so much. So I got to bounce back this upcoming week. Then we got the final topic is college football, college basketball, those games. Miami, NBA, Kentucky, and the Nets. We'll talk about the NBA. Love what the NBA did. I think it looks good. It sounds good. Overall, it's good. I was expecting it to look a whole lot more odd. With the benches, I was expecting players like college to be behind the basket. Some players in college are behind the basket, but that's not the case. They're closer together, and it looked good, pretty good. So far so good with the NBA, and so far so good. All the protocols have been working. So far, knock on wood or knock on table, whatever you want to say. It's looking pretty good for the NBA for the moment. So we'll get into all that stuff later on in the podcast. But with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So it was yet another good week of football in the books. A lot of good games, some upsets, some games I was not expecting. Some games that I was not expecting to be blowouts were blowouts. I was not expecting that Colts-Raiders game to... I actually was. Not the Colts-Raiders game. I was not expecting the Saints outcome. Not at all. The Eagles won 24-21 against the Saints. I was not expecting that. Even though Jalen Hurts was in, I know everyone was saying, I think Jalen Hurts is going to be a good quarterback. I was just not expecting him against that Saints defense to do that well. Bears, the Bears came out firing on all cylinders. Trubisky had a big game, and the Texans looked lost, I'll tell you that for sure. Was not expecting that. The Broncos came out firing on all cylinders. Drew Lock, the third highest QBR in Broncos history for a game. He had a 149.5 rating yesterday. Was just dominant on all cylinders yesterday, and was really, 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 really just insane. They win 32-27. Buccaneers, I was not expecting the Buccaneers to come out that strong. The Buccaneers played well. I was expecting it to be a very close game, but the Buccaneers came out and took care of business. And then, obviously, the Cowboys, I was expecting that, but the Bengals didn't even bring up a fight. The Bengals didn't even bring up a fight. The Bengals just look awful without Burrow. That's a team that I think got to rethink their coaching situation. I understand you have a rookie quarterback and all that, but you got to rethink your coaching situation. This is a team, you're going to battle injuries. You're going to face university as a team, as a franchise. You got to expect that in sports. You have to know how to adjust. Burrow is out. They stink. And I understand you're working with Brandon Allen here, but, good coaches would be able to figure out a way to win some games. Because you can't expect every single season Burrow to play every single game and be healthy in every single game and be firing on all cylinders in every single game. That's just not going to happen. And good coaches find ways to adapt to changes and win games with other players. Zach Taylor, or I think that's the right coach name. He's not done that. He has not done that at all with the Bengals. And I know, and I've always said this. Obviously, Zach Taylor. I've always said this about. I've said this. I don't like when you fire a head coach after a quarterback's rookie year, because then that's already two coaches, two different systems. But I think it's got to be done with the Bengals. This is two back-to-back, just horrendous years. A team that had some promise going into this year. I understand with Burrow, but a team that had some promise. They looked good in the first 3-4 weeks, and then just declined. Burrow was still playing good, but this team just as a whole just stinks. So they got to figure out a way to they gotta do something, because whatever it is for them they're doing now is not working, because they are 2-10-1 right now, which is not a very good position to be in as a as an NFL team. So this week I had a very successful week with my game picks. I've kept on saying it. I need to get these 10-win weeks, and I get yet another 10-win week. Or 11-win week, actually, double-digit week, I should say. I went 11-4 this week so far. Still got the Monday night game tonight, so that's going to be one game. But either way, I do finish above 500 no matter what happens tonight. I finish above 500, so I went 11-4 this week, and that moves my overall record to 144-72 on the season. So obviously another solid week for me. Just got to continue to have these good weeks, and I'll be rolling through. 144 wins. I'll tell you what, if I get another 10-win week, that's 150. We just keep on adding up. You calculated it. 3 more weeks left. 10 10-win weeks, you get to about 170 wins is probably where my aiming. It's a very realistic possibility. A 10-win week for the next 3 weeks of the season, that gives you 30 wins. That gives me at 174 about. So it's a very good possibility that I hit about 170 wins for the regular season, but we'll see still how it goes for the rest of the year. So 144 and 72 on the season, and obviously we got tonight's game as well, which hopefully I get correct. Feeling pretty confident about tonight's pick. I think it's a very close game, but I'm feeling pretty confident. So now let's get into the games, and let's get into the Jets. I'm going to keep the Jets pretty short because it's been 13 times this year I've had to come onto this show and talk about them, and just straight up just pretty much just make fun of them. And it's getting to the point now where I don't even know what to say. We have 3 games left in the season. These final 3 games are just, I mean, whatever. You win. If you win it, great, you win. If you lose, who cares? You lose. At this point in the season, it means absolutely nothing. If we win, great, we won. Miracle. If we lose, great, we lost, we get Trevor Lawrence. At this point, I don't even care. If we lose, I don't even care. I'm done wasting my energy on this team this season. Like, even yesterday, I was sitting there watching the game. Like, I was watching the game, but when there was, like, a bad play, I wouldn't stand up and yell. Like, I was just so done. Like, I'm almost towards the end of this team. I mean, it is so bad. The product that is put out on the field every single week is just so bad. And I'll tell you this, and we're getting to the game now. You know, at least last week, we showed some effort, right? We lost, yes, we know, 31-28 last week. We lost, obviously, on the heartbreaking game, a game-losing touchdown to Henry Ruggs. So, obviously, you know, it was tough, but we showed effort. And that's a lot of times what I want to see, right? Even if you're 0-13, if we go out these final 3 games and at least, and I know a loss is a loss, but when you're 0-13, you got to take little things from these losses. Like, effort. Okay, we showed some sort of effort today. That's not awful. Okay, at least we showed some. You couldn't even say that yesterday. And at least times 2, you could say, okay, well, this rookie, right, the future, we have a ton of rookies. Mekhi Becton, Mims was out, so you couldn't evaluate him. Obviously, yesterday he did not travel with the team. He had an off-the-field issue. Hopefully everything's okay with him. He should be back, I assume, for this week. He would have been able to play in normal circumstances. He had an off-the-field issue, and not meaning he got in trouble, but he had a family thing to attend to, so that's why he was out. But if it was never for the COVID, he would have been able to play because he was able to come back. He traveled back to his hometown to tend to the family issue. Then he came back to the Jets to, Florham Park and all that. But he couldn't because of the COVID situation. The COVID situation, you have to test or be quarantined, whatever, if you're away from the team or whatever, something like that. So if it was never for COVID, he still would have been able to play, but he didn't play. So he was out. But some of these rookies, like a Bryce Hall or like a Bless Austin or even like a, Luvu's not a rookie, but even like a Frankie Luvu, he's young. Or Florenzo Fatukasi, we've seen a ton of him. He's had a very great year this year. Fatukasi, he might actually be a Pro Bowler. But, you see some of these young guys and you're like, okay, let's see what they can do. Let's see it. And you don't even see that. Like, you don't even see the effort there. And we're still giving the ball to Frank Gore 8-10 times a game. Frank Gore is not our future. Frank Gore, he's going to walk right into the Hall of Fame without any problem. He's a future Hall of Famer. Third in the all-time leading rushing list in all the NFL. He's got the third most rushing yards in NFL history. Okay, so to sit here and tell me that he's the future of our team, no. The guy's in his late 30s. He's going to retire soon. That's how it's going to go. Okay. As for some of these young guys, Ty Johnson, Josh Adams, guys like that, LaMichael P. Ryan is on IR. But you got to give these young guys the ball. I want to see these young guys. That's what I want to see. At this point in the season, I don't care what Frank Gore does. What is that going to do? He signed a 1-year contract. He'll probably be gone in 3 games out of this team. He's probably not going to resign. So he's going to go 0-16. He's going to probably leave this, we signed him to a 1-year deal. So what? Right? He's not the future. He's not the guy we need to be looking at. We need to be looking at a Ty Johnson or a Josh Adams. Not saying they're the future, but these guys are young. Ty Johnson's coming off of a 100-yard week last week, and we give him the ball 8 times. This is on Adam Gase once again. Adam Gase does not know how to give these players usage in games. And Adam Gase is failing this team once again. Okay? And I'm going to get it now to really get it really in-depth in the game. I said with effort, the Jets showed none of that yesterday. We didn't even show up. And like I said, I was expecting that. I'm sure a lot of you were expecting that. But at least, the least you could do is show some sort of effort. And it goes to show you how bad this coaching staff is and how bad this coach is. He has completely lost his team when Bless Austin had that stupid penalty because this team is not disciplined. He had an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty at the end of the game. I understand frustration takes over. I understand. I totally get it. But at the end of the day, you got a job to do. If you can't get your players to at least be some sort of stable where they don't go off and be all angry, right? The unsportsmanlike conduct penalty when he's taking a helmet off and yelling at the end of the game, that was horrendous. That is a bad coach right there. That's an undisciplined football team, and that's on the coach. If a football team's undisciplined, that's on the coach. And that's on Adam Gase. And Darnold looked everything but, he looked everything, he was awful. He was horrendous. He was awful. This is probably Darnold's worst performance of the year. I think it might even be worse than the Colts' performance where he threw 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. And I think you could say the same thing about the New York Jets. This was their worst performance of the year. We lose 40-3. This is an NFL team, people. Remember, this is the NFL. This is an NFL team. And they bring in Geno Smith, and they still look like a semi-good football team, the Seahawks. And the Jets just can't do anything. And Brashad Perryman with those 2 drops, and you still keep him in, bench him. You got to be short here. Put him on a short leash, right? There was a guy that caught his first NFL catch yesterday. Not saying he's the future of this team, but play him. Give him the ball. You're down 30-3 or 31-3, whatever it was. We were down by 20 so many times in that game. Whatever it was. When you're down 40-3, just give the ball to your young guys. Bring someone in. See what they can do. You know what I'm saying? It was just horrendous. Bring in the young receiver. He's probably not the future. He came off the practice squad. Even Lawrence Kager, he was activated. Why didn't we bring him in? Bring some of these young guys in. See what they can do. I'm not saying Lawrence Kager is going to be the next best thing. I'm not saying that. But see what some of these guys can do. That's the least you could do. Even with the Jaleel Scott, right? The guy is young. He's young. He's not gonna be your guy that's gonna go out there and play insane. But do something. Just do something. He had 1 catch and 1 target. This is awful. Darnold, you just don't know you don't know what's happening with him. Is this Darnold or is this? I hope it's on Gase because I would love to see Darnold succeed somewhere else. But you know what I'm saying? At this point, is this guy gonna get another chance? He's trying to audition to other teams at this point. It's not even about saving his job because his job's completely lost. In these final 3 weeks, he's got to find a way to somehow string a couple good games together, whether that's 2 or 3 games, even if that's throwing a touchdown and going for 200 yards. If you do that, that's a positive. Yesterday's performance, I think, was the worst of the year for Darnold. He went 14-26, 132 yards, 9.4 his average. He took 3 sacks and a rating of 68.1. Josh Adams had 6 carries for 27 yards, 4.5 was his average. Gore had 8 carries for 23 yards. Ty Johnson had 8 carries for 16 yards. You just don't know what to say. Braxton Berrios had 3 catches for 49 yards. Perryman had 3 catches for 26 yards. He also had 2 drops that were right in his hands. He dropped 2 first downs. You're in the NFL. You got to catch a football. There's no other real way of saying it. And I think Perryman's been pretty solid for us this year. I think he's been a pretty solid signing. But yesterday really he dropped 2 wide open, perfectly fine throwing balls. That's the part too where I feel bad for Darnold. Look at his core around him. None of these guys are the top level guy outside of Crowder and then Mims, but none of these guys are that, none of these guys, he doesn't have one of these star guys. Josh Allen's got Stephon Diggs. Mahomes has got Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill, whatever you want to call the number one on that team. You look at some of these guys who they have. Right? The quarterbacks that succeed have star receivers. And if you want me to name a ton of them, I will. I could sit here and give you a whole list of them. Almost every quarterback in the NFL right now that's succeeding, they have a number one receiver. Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, right? When Dak was in, he had Amari Cooper, right? You know what I'm saying? Like they're Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf. Like it's when you have a good receiving core, it really does help. That's kind of it. And our kicker too, he missed 3 field goals. So realistically, this game should have probably been 40-12, but it is what it is. 40-12 wouldn't have made much of a difference, except us losing by 28 instead of 37. 38. No. 28. Yeah, 28. So now we move on to the Seahawks. Russell Wilson went 21-27, 260 yards, 9.8 was average, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a rating of 122.6. He obviously had the interception by Marcus May early on in the game. Guess what? We could not capitalize on it. Geno Smith went 4 of 5, 33 yards, 8.3 was average, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He took a sack and a rating of 94.2. Chris Carson had 12 carries for 76 yards, a touchdown. Carlos Hyde, 15 carries, 66 yards, a 4.4 was his average, and Carson's was 6.3. Metcalf had 6 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. Disley had 2 catches for 23 yards and a touchdown. Swan had 2 catches for 22 yards and a touchdown, and Moore had 3 catches for 20 yards and a touchdown. And if you ask why we have not fired our head coach yet, I have no clue. So now I move on to, we are 0-13, by the way. So now I move on to the Giants game. So I found this stat yesterday before we get into this, and I'll be quick with the Giants. I'm usually quicker with the Giants than I am with the Jets. I found this stat yesterday. So it was like after the games. It was obviously after the Jets game was done, because you can't calculate the stats unless the game's over. Let's see. Let's see. This stat, it was a really crazy stat. Just goes to show you how bad New York football is outside of Buffalo Bills, and we're gonna get to the Bills in just a little bit. I thought the Bills played a phenomenal game yesterday. Let's get to it. And I can't find it. Maybe, did I... Okay, so I think I gotta check here. Sorry about this. It was a really, really cool stat. It was like really... I really thought it was pretty. I mean, not cool. It's just pretty crazy. Okay, so this is it. This was the 2 New York football teams yesterday, okay? So, they both had 10 points. They combined for 10 points, and they combined for 344 yards, okay? So, their 2 starting quarterbacks, 25 of 47 for 259 yards. 13 NFL teams so far have more total yards today than the Jets and the Giants do combined. Now, that was yesterday I was saying that. So, probably maybe even more teams have that. But that was yesterday. That just goes to show you how bad New York football is. It really does. And you could say, oh, the Giants are a division. They're 5-8. Okay, they're not going to win a division. What you saw yesterday out of the Washington defense and Chase Young, that's a scary football team. So the Giants yesterday got demolished. And Daniel Jones came back too early. He did not look good. I watched this game. I watched the complete game because the Jets came on later, so I was able to watch this game. And while I was watching this game, I was sitting there like, really, this is a team that's winning a division right now. I mean, this was a horrendous performance by the New York Giants. And you talk about horrendous, and you really hone in on the offensive and defensive lines for the Giants, for both teams. Okay, for the Giants, I mean. Giants' offensive line was horrendous yesterday. They allowed 8 total sacks, 6 of them on Daniel Jones, and 8 of them on Colt McCoy. Or not 8 of them, sorry. 2 of them are Colt McCoy, my bad. So Colt McCoy came in late in the game. He had 2 sacks. He took 2 sacks. And then Daniel Jones took 6 sacks. And that's another thing, too. Your quarterback's coming back. He was just injured. He had a hamstring injury. Hamstrings injury can linger with you for a little bit. They can get bad. Hamstrings injury, it's almost like an ankle. They can linger. They can be with you for a little bit. You might feel better, but then you start moving and stuff, and you get tackled, and you might be able to feel it again. And I think Daniel Jones did, because he was limping off the field pretty badly yesterday. He did not look good at all. It was actually a little worrisome, I think, if you're a Giants coach or fan. He did not look good yesterday coming off that field. You hope he's okay, because obviously the guy just got back from being injured, but he was limping off that field like he just went through I felt bad for the guy. He was just getting knocked around everywhere. And anyway, so, I think this game is to blame on the Giants offensive line and the Giants defensive line. Okay? I want to ask you a question. And not all of you might have, but if you watched this game, comment down below. I know all of you didn't. I know for certain some of you who watched this video did not see this game. So but comment down below if you saw this game. If you were watching this game, tell me one time in that game outside of the sack, because there was one sack, right? Outside of that sack, where was there pressure the entire game by the Giants defensive line? Nowhere. There was no pressure whatsoever. And I was texting during the game, and a good friend of mine is a big Giants fan, right? He was even saying, like, there's no one on that defensive line is even doing anything. The pressure on the defensive line was they were giving Kyler Murray all the time in the world. All the time in the world. It was like they weren't even doing anything. They weren't even rushing nobody. They gave him all the time in the world to pass that ball. And that's why he threw for 244 yards and a touchdown yesterday. Because they gave him all the time in the world. And Kyler Murray, too, he was a little banged up. He took a hit early on in the game. The rest of the game, he was limping a little bit. Nothing crazy. He was still able to run, but he was not normal Kyler Murray. Definitely his running ability got taken away a little bit. He still rushed for 47 yards, which is still crazy to me. But isn't that crazy? I thought that was crazy. 1 sack, and compared to 8. And the Cardinals offensive line too. They had 3 guys who were questionable return. I forget if all of them returned, but they had like 3 guys on that team where they were all questionable. And yet Leonard Williams, Dalvin Tomlinson, everyone says how good this defensive line is. They could not get past a banged up Cardinals offensive line. A horrendous performance by the New York Giants and a horrendous performance by the New York Jets, and an embarrassing day for New York football. Outside of Buffalo, an embarrassing day for New York football. Kyler Murray went 24 of 35, 244 yards, 10.2 his average, 1 touchdown, a sack, and a rating of 97.8, so a quality game for him. Drake had 23 carries for 80 yards, 3.5 was his average. He had a touchdown. He had 2 fumbles, but he was able to recover both of them. So, some dangers there. That's another thing, too, the Giants' turnovers. It's another thing. Jones had a turnover early in the game. He fumbled. He also fumbled again, but recovered it. And then Deion Lewis fumbled the little kick ball. He fumbled on a kick return, too. Those are just dumb things that can't happen. DeAndre Hopkins had 9 catches for 136 yards. Arnold had 2 catches for 27 yards and a touchdown. So your 2 touchdowns were by Kenyon Drake and the tight end, Arnold. Now we move on to the Giants. Daniel Jones went 11 of 21. Just horrendous. Horrendous performance by him. 11 of 21, 127 yards. 11.5 was his average. 6 sacks and a rating of 70.9. McCoy went 2 of 3, 18 yards, 9 was his average. 2 sacks and a rating of 82.6. Such a small sample size. He threw the ball 3 times, so that rating really doesn't mean much. Gallman had 12 carries, 57 yards, 4.8 was his average. Golden Tate had a catch for 39 yards. He had 1 big catch. Shepard had 3 catches for 35 yards. Slayton had 3 catches for 31 yards. And back to the Cardinals, Edmonds also had 4 catches for 21 yards. But, you even look at this. Like, Slayton, Shepard, Tate, they all got shut down yesterday. Evan Ingram, did he even show up to the game? He had 2 catches. It's just an awful day for the Giants on offense. And I'll tell you what, and I said this going into the game. I might not have said it on the podcast, but I've been saying you heard it around too. The New York Giants going into that game, you knew they were going to struggle. They finally get some national attention. You knew they were going to struggle. Coming off of a big win, going up against a struggling team, you knew they were going to struggle. With that national attention on them all of a sudden, you knew it. And I'll tell you what, for as big of a market as New York is, you have the Yankees, you have the Islanders. You have the Devils in New Jersey, but still you got the Devils. Jets and the Giants are technically playing New Jersey, but they're called New York, but, we'll still count them as a New York team. Jets, Giants, Yankees, Mets. Islanders, Nets. Devils are in New Jersey, but you can count them as the Devils. And the Bills. For those prime New York sports teams, the Yankees, the Mets, not the Bills. We'll leave the Bills out there. I mean, the Bills are a New York sports team, but you're talking about your prime New York sports teams. Teams that have New York in their name. Even Brooklyn, I know that's a Brooklyn, that's a borough, it's not New York, but still, we'll count them. Out of those prime teams, it really is sad that New York sports has not been crazy successful. I mean, it really is. The Mets haven't won a World Series in forever. The Yankees haven't won one since 2009. The Knicks haven't won one since, I don't even want to know. The Rangers haven't won one since the 90s. The Giants won one in 2011. The Jets, they've won once, and that was in 1969. The Bills never won one. If you count all the New York sports teams, the Nets have never won an NBA Finals. Islanders, they had a run last season, obviously, but still wasn't able to get the job done. You look at these New York sports teams, it really is crazy. The New York sports has not been able to capture that one big victory. It really has. For as big as the market is some of the biggest market teams are here. Are some of the biggest market teams are obviously in New York with the Yankees and all that. You have not seen any real championship in New York for a long time. And the football seems like the last team to probably capture a championship. So now I move on to the Bills and the Steelers, the rest of the NFL. So the Bills, they took care of business, right? And while I was watching this game to start off, the Bills win 26-15. While I was starting this game, watching this game, I remember texting someone. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a low-scoring game. I mean, this is going to be a really low-scoring game. Watch out. This is going to be a low-scoring game. It might be one of those so-called boring games for all you offensive game lovers out there, for all you people who love both teams getting into the 40s. But for those people who like sometimes defensive games, a lot of turnovers, a lot of good defensive stops, low scorings, the 7-3s, the 14-10s. I'm kind of in the middle. I like shootouts, but I also sometimes like my share of defense too. I like sometimes the nice defensive stops. It's always cool to see a team stop them on the goal line. You put in that extra effort and you stop them at the goal line. That's always good. But I mean, this game started off slow. I mean, it really did. This game started off slow. Allen looked rough. Allen struggled early. Big Ben struggled late. It's kind of funny. Allen struggled early, was able to turn it around. Big Ben struggled late. So obviously, I guess if you had to take the two, late is not the time to struggle. And I'll tell you what, this Bills team is a very good football team, okay? And I've been talking to so many people. I'm so high on this Bills team now, I might predict them to win the rest of their games. And if they go into the playoffs at 13-3 and they're riding high, who knows? I might have them winning a playoff game. I'm very high on this Bills team. What I see out of this defense, what I see out of this offense is a true team. This might be a sleeper team in the playoffs that you got to watch out for. I definitely think this might be a team that might make things interesting. I'm not saying Super Bowl. Maybe win a playoff game, though. Maybe. Maybe a playoff game, and in their next one, maybe make it close. Not saying Super Bowl. I don't think they're there yet. They're a move or two away from that, but I definitely think they're close. Bills win. Very big win for them. They moved to 10-3 on the season. That Stephon Diggs move that they made to trade for him has been everything they could have asked for. Most receptions in the NFL, top 5 in receiving yards, everything they could have asked for. Stephon Diggs with another big day. Bills win. Washington and the 49ers. Tell you what, this one was a crazy game. It was obviously it was definitely a if you want to talk about a defensive game, this was the definition of it. Okay, the Washington, especially Chase Young, just absolutely attacked Nick Mullins. And Washington, they did not have a good eye game on offense. This was not Washington's best game ever. Defensive-wise, I could say this might be the best defense, one of the better defensive performances in all the NFL of all season. And Chase Young looked dominant out there. I'll tell you what, this was a game for Washington. This game was unreal. How good this game was for Washington. Their defense went out and played well. Chase Young played well. Alex Smith did get injured. He seems to be okay. It doesn't seem too major, which is very good. He struggled too, but this Washington team ultimately got the job done. Defense won them this game. Washington 6-7. I'm telling you, they're winning the division. Big win for Washington. Eagles Saints. I went into this game thinking, you're expecting Eagles to lose and stuff, and I was expecting that. But then always in the back of your head, in the back of your mind, and you're always thinking, well, it could be one of those scenarios where a new quarterback comes in, adds a spark to the team, and all of a sudden they start playing well. That was the case. I was not expecting that because of how good the Saints defense is at times. Cam Jordan, Lattimore, Demario Davis, guys like that, Jenkins. They've got weapons all over the field on defense. So to see them come out flat out and just get embarrassed against a team like the Eagles, I understand Jalen Hurts was playing. I understand it has a little bit of a different dynamic because Carson Wentz is not that mobile. He can run, but Jalen Hurts is a lot more mobile than him. I understand it adds that interesting dynamic, but I was not expecting the Eagles to come out and play like this. And I got to give credit where credit's due. Jalen Hurts looked like a true quarterback yesterday. I know it's game one. I know it's the first game of his career. The amount of times players come out in the middle of the year, play insane, everyone hypes him up. I understand it. I know it's his first game of the career. I know Eagles fans are going to be very happy about this win. You just got to continue to play, right? They've got 3 games left on the season. They've got the Cardinals. That's going to be tough. Then you have the Cowboys and the Washington. You probably get the win against the Cowboys, which would put you. They have the Cardinals. I'm gonna go ahead and say they lose, which puts them at 5-8, 5-8-1, and then I'm gonna go ahead and say they do beat the Cowboys, 6-8-1, and in Washington probably I'm not gonna go. I think Washington is gonna be a team to beat. So, this is a team. The tie definitely helps them. When you're talking about the standings, but this is definitely a team that's not completely out of it yet. They need help, though. They need Washington to start losing if they want any help. They're obviously 2 back in the win column from Washington, so they need to find a way for Washington to lose. But with Washington wins yesterday, definitely, even the Cowboys and Eagles, even though the Eagles won, their chances have gone a whole lot more slim. So the Eagles won. Jalen Hurts provided a big spark. Packers Lions. This game was closer than I expected it to be, but ultimately at the end of the day, third quarter for the Lions was straight out flat, and that's what hurt them. Third quarter for the Lions hurt them. You're in that football game in the third quarter. You're in that game. It's a 21-14, it's a 14-14 game going into that third quarter. You as a Lions fan are thinking, okay, maybe we pull off a little bit of an upset here. Packers score in the fourth quarter, make it 21-14, or make it 21-14, and the Lions just flat out look flat in that quarter, and then they ended up losing, obviously. Lions late games this season have been a little flat. Packers make it interesting again. Packers are getting wins, and a win's a win at the end of the day. But this Packers team definitely makes things interesting against some bad teams. Lions, Jaguars. They've made some of these games real interesting against some of these bad teams. They just got to continue to just go out and get the job done. That's what they got to do. So the Packers win. Rodgers with another big day. Davante Adams. I read a stat on this too. I think it's 8 straight games with a touchdown or something. It's like a franchise record NFL stuff. I don't know what it quite was. It was something, consecutive games with a touchdown. But him and Rodgers have been balling out all year, so a big win for the Packers. Now I move on to the Chargers and the Falcons. This game, this is a funny game because a lot of people are making fun of these two teams because everyone realizes how bad the Falcons are in the fourth quarter, how bad the Chargers are in the fourth quarter. The Falcons had a game this season where they had a 99.8% chance to win, and they let it go, and they ended up losing. Same thing with the Chargers. They had a game this season where they were in the 90% chance to win. 1 second left, they let up a game-losing touchdown, and they lose the game. Both of these teams have had a lot of tough losses to go through. So this was the battle of the teams of who's going to blow the lead. If the Chargers have the lead or the Falcons going to come back, take the lead, then take the lead even more, then are they going to blow the lead? Who's going to blow the league? Sure enough, it was the Falcons yesterday, blew it. Falcons were winning 17 to 10, and then it was 17. It was 17-10, and it was 17-17 in the third quarter. And then sure enough, They ended up losing in the fourth with a game-winning field goal as time expired. So a big win for the Chargers, coming off of I shouldn't say big win, but coming off of a bad loss like that. To see your team respond, go out there and play good football is a pretty good sign for this team, especially a young team. A lot of times when you get crushed like that, whether it's against the best team or the worst team, anytime you get crushed, it's usually sometimes the next week the team responds with a big loss, or sometimes they respond with a win. They responded obviously with a win. They got the job done. Chargers win 2017. Now I move on to the Colts and the Raiders. I'll tell you what, I said this week. I said this on Friday when I did my game picks. What I saw to the Raiders against the Jets was not a good football team. Was not a playoff team. They barely beat the Jets. If it was never for the all-in blitz, the Jets would have won. I understand a win is a win. But when you play like that against the Jets, and then you go out there and are expecting to be a top 5 defense in the league against the Colts, it just is not going to happen. It is not going to happen. And John Gruden has not been able to really get this team to that next level. Every year they're in the hunt. Every year they're sitting around 7-5, 6-5, 7-6, and then all of a sudden the tables turn, and they're now all of a sudden sitting here at 7-6 again. And oh no, the Raiders choking away their playoff spot once again, losing 3 of their last 4. Now they have the Chargers, Dolphins, and Broncos coming up. Dolphins, a team who barely lost to the Chiefs yesterday, and the Chargers, a team who can be sneaky and beat you. Oh no, here we go. There's a chance the Raiders miss out on the playoffs yet again. But I'll tell you what, Colts offense look good, defense look good. I'll tell you what, something I realized, the T.Y. Hilton has came around. He's had 2 touchdowns this week and a couple big weeks. T.Y. Hilton has really been able to turn the corner. He had a very slow start to the season, but has been able to pick up the pace. Now I move. Colts win 44-27. Now I move on to the Chiefs and the Dolphins. This just goes to show you how good this Chiefs team is. And we all know Mahomes is the star of the team. We know that. Can't really make an argument that something. I mean, you could say Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and guys like that. But we all know Mahomes is probably the star of this team. And Mahomes yesterday had not a Mahomes game. I'll tell you that for sure. Did not have a very Mahomes game. He threw 3 interceptions. He threw for 393 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he still threw for 393 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he threw 3 interceptions. Okay, and I want to say something. I don't want to say this is all the Dolphins, because the Dolphins are a pretty good football team. I think we can all agree on they're 8-5. They're a good football team. But I don't really want to say this is all Dolphins, or if this is just how they are. But I mean, even Tua yesterday, he had a big game, 316 yards. Okay, but the Chiefs, I don't know, the Dolphins team, that's why I don't know if they're there yet. They did not capitalize on any of those turnovers. I don't think anyway. I know a couple of them and they didn't. But they were not able to really capitalize on those turnovers. And you're going to lose that game if you can't do that. Patrick Mahomes barely turns the ball over. When he turns it over once, you got to capitalize on that. When he turns it over twice, you're like, oh my goodness. When he turns it over 3 times, you're there sitting like, oh my gosh, we might win this game. But when he turns the ball over 3 times and you can't capitalize on those, you're going to lose the game. When he takes the 30-yard sack and you can't capitalize, you're going to lose the game. Okay, the Dolphins yesterday, the reason they lost was because not capitalizing in big moments of the game. Mahomes throws an interception, can't capitalize. Mahomes throws an interception, can't capitalize. Mahomes throws an interception, can't capitalize. Mahomes takes a 30-yard sack, can't capitalize. You have to capitalize on the chances you get. Mahomes barely turns the ball over. When he turns the ball over, you've got to convert. And they did not do that yesterday. Chiefs win. And it just goes to show you, Mahomes has an off day. This Chiefs team still comes through with a win. This Chiefs team, Mahomes yesterday said after the game, I have a love-hate relationship with Hard Rock Stadium. Obviously, this year he threw 3 interceptions. Yesterday was not his best performance. And then obviously last year, he obviously won. Obviously last season, he won Super Bowl MVP at Hard Rock Stadium. So he won a Super Bowl there, but he also threw 3 interceptions there. It's kind of an in-between. So the Chiefs win. Cardinals, Giants, we already talked about. The Bears, Texans. I mean, I was surprised to see this game. To be honest, the story of this game was the Bears offense fired on all cylinders. I mean, that really was the story of this game. That the Bears fired on all cylinders. The Bears looked good. The Bears played good. I mean, the Bears looked like a playoff contender yesterday. They really did. They're contending to be trying to make the playoffs. They looked like that yesterday. And I don't know what it was because the Texans defense is not that bad. I don't know what it was with the Bears offense and Mitchell Trubisky. I don't know if it's something, if they had a meeting. I don't know if Nagy said something, or I don't know if it was just straight up they just balled out. Whatever it was, the Bears need to do that again because that was a huge win for them that keeps their playoff hopes alive. I still don't believe this team's a playoff team, but yesterday showed a lot of Bears fans, I'm sure, a lot of hope. They snapped the 6-game losing streak that they were on. So the last time they won a game was October 18th. And the last time they won a game was October 18th. And yesterday was December 13th. That's the last time they won a game. So pretty crazy. They've got the Vikings. That's going to be tougher, but you never know. Then you have the Jaguars. You got to win there. And then the Packers. So those are your options. That's it. So now I move on. And as for the Texans, I mean, Watson didn't play that bad. This is fully on the defense. I mean, you guys just got to blame the defense in this game. Now I move on to the Broncos and the Panthers. I said this on Friday as well. Even though I picked the Panthers, I said it on Friday. What I saw about the Broncos team against the Chiefs was a team that does not go down without a fight, was a fighting team, was a team that, even though they lost, they played well, and a team that's going to bring up a battle. It's not going to be easy to always beat them. And what I saw last week was pretty promising. Sometimes those games where you're going up against someone that high of a level like the Chiefs and Mahomes, when you're going up against them, sometimes those games can get a jolt to teams. And I feel like that kind of did that to the Broncos. And obviously Drew Lock throwing the game-losing interception throughout the week. Everyone's talking about, is Drew Lock really the answer for this team? Is he really the franchise quarterback? Yesterday he responded with telling everyone that he is, through 4 touchdowns, third highest QBR rating in a single game as a Broncos quarterback. Manning, Elway are the only two in front of him. And, I mean, you know what Manning and Elway did for that team. It doesn't really have to be. I mean, those are 2 all-time greats for the Broncos, and even in the NFL that are in front of you. So it really, really, really is crazy. He's on a list with a lot of big names there. So a big day for the Broncos. Big day for Drew Lock, and even give credit to his defense. His defense made some stops late in the game to really secure this victory. So an all-around good team win for the Broncos. Titans, Jaguars, story of this game, offense. I mean, the Titans' offense is just so good, and this defense stepped up and did what they needed to do. They took care of business. Sometimes these are the best wins, right? You hear throughout the week, they got some, they got to win this game, right? Even people were talking about the Seahawks coming off of a loss last week. Now all of a sudden everyone's saying how bad they are and stuff. People are saying, this team might not really be that good in the playoffs anymore. And then you sit and then you're thinking, they have the Jets. They got it's the truth. Sometimes you do have a little bit more pressure on you when you're going up against a bad team like the Jets, because everyone's expecting you to win. No one's expecting the other team to win. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's something like that. So, obviously, the Titans took care of business. I mean, they did. They got the job done. Now I move to the Vikings and the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers won. Dan Bailey missed, I think, 3 kicks. That would have been 10 points. So, he missed 3 field goals. 4 kicks, I think. 3 field goals and 1 extra point. So, he missed a total of 10 points, which would have made things interesting because they would have lost 26-24, but you assume in that situation they probably would have went for the 2-pointer, which You know how it works. Kickers are big. People always make fun of kickers and always say, "Oh, kickers is the least important position on the field." Well, it's pretty important. And then the Cowboys, Bengals. Cowboys look good. Bengals did not. Cowboys, they take advantage of these bad teams. They really do. That is something I gotta give credit. They win the games they're supposed to win. Like that. That's something I gotta say about the Cowboys. They win the games they're supposed to win. They beat the Bengals. They were supposed to beat them. They beat the Giants. They were supposed to beat them. They beat the Falcons. Those are and they're all 4 wins. They were supposed to beat those teams. They beat them. They got the Niners, Eagles, and Giants. So, Eagles and Giants are winnable, but the Niners, I don't know. I don't want to hype it up, but if this team and this defense, I know, and that's the thing that's against Brandon Allen, but if this defense can somehow play nearly as good as that, they'll be in a good position. Now for tonight's game. We got the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens come into this game 3-point favorites, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN. The over-under is 45.5 for this game. These are some of the injury report. Levine abdomen is questionable. Washington concussion questionable. Calais Campbell calf questionable. Smith groin questionable. Wilson hip is questionable, and Williams thigh is doubtful. For Cleveland, Austin Hooper neck is questionable. Denzel Ward calf is out, and Hodge hamstring is out. So those are Denzel Ward and Hooper are some big names. So hopefully Hooper goes for them. The league rankings: Ravens are 12th in points per game. Browns are 14th points per game allowed. Ravens are 4th. Browns are 24th. Total yards per game: Ravens are 22nd. Browns are 16th. Pass yards per game: Ravens are 31st. Browns are 27th. Rush yards per game: Ravens are 1st in the league. Browns are 3rd. Rush yards per game allowed: Ravens are 10th. Browns are 18th. So I'm going to expect a lot of rushing this game. Jackson, Dobbins, and guys like that. And then, Chubb and Kareem Hunt sharing some time there. So those are your the keys there. I do give the Browns the win today. I still don't fully trust this Ravens team. They got the win last week, but they run the 3 same plays. They run this run play. They run another run play. They run another play. They literally run the 3 same plays every game, and it does not work out for them. They're 7-5. And the Browns, the way they played against the Titans, the way Mayfield's looking, and the way this defense is looking, I'll tell you what, this Browns team is looking like a pretty scary team to go up against. And I'm not just saying that because they picked them. It's the truth. This is looking like a team that, and I'm not a big Browns fan. I don't like Mayfield and that. But this might be a team that you're looking at thinking, that maybe we should start to think about possibly being a team that could maybe make a run. I mean, this run game's good. This pass game has been pretty good. I mean, this is a Browns team that has been playing very well. So I give the Browns the win, 31-28. I think it's a very close game. I think it's going to come down to field goal, something like that. And I take the over on the over-under 45.5, and I think the Browns win 31-28. That's my pick. So now I move on to fantasy football. Coming up next, fantasy football. Alrighty. Oh no, Keenan Allen's questionable. What happened there? That's interesting. Okay. So, so here we go. Let's see. Okay, anyway. So in my one league I did very well this week. I'm winning 130 to 71. My opponent still has Justin Tucker to go. So somewhere in that, like I said, playoffs is 2 weeks, so you'll take the combined points. So this score will stay the same, and you'll take the combined points for that next week. So hopefully, I continue to do this. I mean, I'm winning big right now, so the chances of me really letting up this lead are going to be tough. But I'm winning big, so I just got to continue that. Some big performance out of Hill, Rams defense. Kenyon Drake got the job done. Robert Tonyan, A.J. Brown. By the way, I made a decision on Sunday, or I made a decision to pick up Robert Tonyan. He has been a very solid player for the Packers. I ended up benching Hunter Henry and picking up him. He had a touchdown yesterday. He had another big day. So I'm probably going to keep him. I'm actually going to probably pick him up in my other league as well. I was going to pick him up on Sunday, but then I decided not to. I probably should have, hindsight 2020. But I'm going to pick him up in my other league as well. Probably drop Hunter Henry. He has not been able to play well for me at another 4-point week. Just not the he's just not doing well. I mean, there's no other way of saying it. But in our league, in this one league, I did very well. 130 to 71. Got no one left to play. My opponent still got Justin Tucker, so whatever he does, it will be a little bit slightly, but I'm not too worried about Justin Tucker making a 59-point comeback. It was a big way. It was a big week for me because now I continue. Next week, if I have another 100, I mean, that's the thing. My opponent now has to outscore me by 59. So she has to get. My opponent has to get. She has to get 59 more points, I think. Right? Without me, like, that's the thing. Without me scoring straight up, my opponent needs to get 59. With me scoring, that's why it's going to be so difficult. So big week for me in this league. And in my other league, I'm going to make changes. I'm going to pick up Rams defense. I'm going to pick up Robert Tonyan. So I'm not completely out of this league yet. But I am losing right now 133 to 105. Down by almost 30, which is tough. I was not expecting to go into this series and really win. So it's obviously tough. That's the thing. I'm starting off losing by 33. I'm like, that's the thing. I'm obviously already, losing by 28. That's the thing. It's almost like you're already losing. So I'm already losing by 28 here. So it's obviously tough, but I gotta figure out a way to, just do something that's good. I mean, this league I knew was gonna be tough. My other league, I definitely feel more confident. I said it at the beginning of the year. I've said it all year long. I like my other league, this one league's team that I went 7-6. I said I like that league's team a whole lot better. And that goes. I mean, I'm 7-6, and it looks like I'm on my way to the finals. I mean, unless if I have to choke real badly for the rest of the season. But I said it's going to be tough. This team, I will admit, I did not have my most successful draft in this one league. Definitely did not have my most successful draft. But at the end of the day, I had to work what I had, and I think it's going to be tough for me to come back on them down 28. It's going to be tough. I mean. But I'm going to make moves. I'm going to make acquisitions and going to try to turn it around so I can somehow make a comeback. But obviously need to be better. Me personally, too, on a personal level, I need to be better. I mean, I need to be a better decision maker. I mean, that's shot me. I mean, I start Elliott. He struggles. I should have started Jones. I was going to start Jones, and I realized, he's going up against a pretty good run defense. You look at the numbers. Numbers are favorable for Elliott. I got to be a better decision maker in this league. I definitely do. There's been some questionable decisions I have made in this league. There's been a couple decisions not positive, that have been positive, but there's been a couple of negatives as well. So I got to figure out a way to turn this around and try to make a comeback. So yeah, no one going tonight for either of the teams. Now I move on to college basketball, college football, Miami and Kentucky. Okay. Let's get to college football. I'm going to first off say Miami played awful, okay? I'm going to leave it at that. They played horrendous. If you saw the game, you know what happened. They played awful. So North Carolina won 62-26, Utah won 38-21, BYU won 28-14, USC won 43-38, LSU won 37-34, Iowa won 28-7, Oklahoma State won 42-3, Coastal Carolina won 42-38, Georgia won 49-14, Alabama won 52-3, Northwestern won 28-10. Those are all your games there. Miami did not play good. And as for college basketball, I thought the effort was there for Kentucky. I don't like to talk about effort and all that because they still lost. But I thought Olivia Sarr looked very good. Our second half, we outscored them 37-16, which could be a positive going forward. That we we obviously saw a comeback. They were getting blown out. They were losing 48-26 to end the first half. And then go into the second half, we were down by, obviously, 22 points. And then we were down at one point in the game by 24 points, I think. And we were able to come back and cut it to a one-point game. Took the final shot. Did not make it. And that was it. And Kentucky's got to get back to the drawing board. We're 1-4. We gotta get good quick. because you might think, oh, some of these, we gotta get big. We gotta get good quickly. There's no time to mess around here. Our conference play starts because you got UCLA this week on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern time on CBS, and then after that, that's it. Then you got all of your conference. That's the SEC play now. Then you have Louisville, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. You got teams like that, Florida and teams like that. If you can't beat those teams, that's really going to hurt you. So we gotta figure out to get good quickly if we want to try to make the March Madness. So that's kind of the deal there. Today's games for basketball: Rutgers, Maryland. I give Rutgers the win. Villanova, that game got postponed. Creighton, Marquette. I give Creighton the win. So at least the effort was there. That's really all I could say. Now on to the Nets and the NBA. Okay, I'll first off say, I'll be the first one to tell you, I thought the NBA did a great job. I thought they did a phenomenal job. I thought it looked good, sounded good, all that good stuff. And as for the Nets, I've never been more happier. It was so exciting watching KD and Kyrie take the floor. It really was. Hold your breath a little bit, almost like the whole Alex Smith thing. You hold your breath whenever KD got the ball and was making some of these cuts. Because you want to make sure, Achilles injury is a very tough injury to come back from. And when you're making all these cuts, one of his known things throughout his career is that jump stop he has. And everyone was worried about that with the Achilles. Because that's all your Achilles muscle. When you do that jump stop and then shoot. He did that yesterday. He made the shot. It looked very nice. But, obviously you got to hold your breath a little bit. Especially when he was driving in. He took a charge. You're like, is he okay? Is he okay? Obviously there was definitely times where a little worrisome. But, KD and Kyrie did everything we could have asked them to do. KD had 15 points. Kyrie had 18. It was preseason action. They did good. They did good. And the Nets got the win. So it was obviously, I thought, a good game for the Nets. And hopefully we continue this and we continue this into the regular season because that's obviously our goal. That's obviously what we want to. It's obviously what we want to do. Just continue this and hopefully obviously get to that ultimate goal of the championship in the regular season, finals win. So today's games. Oh, by the way, yesterday the Nets won, Kings won, Lakers won, Bulls won, Pistons won, and the Hawks won. So today's game: Pacers, Cavs. I give the Cavs the win, Yeah, I'll give the Cavs the win. Heat, Pelicans, give Heat the win. Hornets, Raptors the win. Grizzlies, Timberwolves, I'll give the Grizzlies the win. Bucks, Mavericks, I'll give the Mavericks the win. And then Suns, Jazz, I'll give the Jazz the win. So those are all your games today. That's our action there. And then obviously we got the Monday night game as well. So those are your basketball games on tonight. So some college game and then the Monday night game obviously is the main event. Obviously tonight. So that's what I got for the podcast today. Hope you all enjoyed it. It was another good podcast. Another good podcast in the books. A lot of football today, obviously. I'll be back at it tomorrow with some more football. I'll be talking Monday night game and then fantasy. And I'm going to talk about the Yankees. The Yankees are far apart with LeMahieu right now, so I want to talk about that. Not too happy with that, but we'll talk about it. So with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast today. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.